Self-forgiveness. What is self-forgiveness? How can we self-forgive? And what are the effects of self-forgiveness? What is self-forgiveness? Studies of self-forgiveness are still in infancy and the topic is still mostly undefined. But currently defined, self-forgiveness is a set of motivational changes whereby one becomes decreasingly motivated to avoid stimuli associated with the offense, decreasingly motivated to retaliate against the self, for example, punish the self, engage in self-destructive behaviors, etc., and increasingly motivated to act benevolently towards the self. Why should I self-forgive? Repressed anger can lead to depression, and by dismissing internal anger as sadness, you allow it to develop into destructive outlets. By not allowing self-forgiveness, you are allowing yourself to be susceptible to many health problems, both mental and physical, such as eating disorders, alcohol problems, depression, and anxiety. On the other hand, by allowing self-forgiveness, you gain a better understanding of the self and are prone to more self-kindness. Self-forgiveness in theory. While there is very little formal research on self-forgiveness theory, forgiveness and its subsets can be described through cognitive theory. The process of self-forgiveness can be explained through Lazarus's model of cognitive motivational relational theory of emotion. In this model, first comes the event and then its appraisal, simply deciphering whether the event is good or bad. Then comes the emotion. If it's judged as a bad event, these emotions can be sadness, anger, blame, etc. Then comes coping. How do we feel we should deal toward this event and our emotions? Then lastly comes putting it into action. How can I self-forgive? Studies show 3 elements of self-forgiveness. 1. Self-forgiveness requires an objective fault or wrongdoing. 2. The negative feelings triggered by this event must be overcome. And 3. An internal acceptance of oneself must be achieved. Another study outlines the 4 R's of self-forgiveness: responsibility, remorse, restoration, and renewal. Assessing self-forgiveness. Researchers assessing self-forgiveness tend to use one of these 5 assessments: forgiveness of self scale, multidimensional forgiveness inventory, brief multidimensional measure of religiousness or spirituality, Heartland forgiveness scale, and the state self-forgiveness scale. Each of these scales assess attitudes towards the self and self-forgiveness practices. However, since self-forgiveness is a young topic, each of these scales struggle to be predictive and struggle with pseudo-forgiveness through dishonesty of the person taking them. In summary, self-forgiveness is an important aspect of growth. Self-forgiveness is not to be confused with the denial that the subject has done something wrong, but rather understanding that there's not much you can do to change things now. By self-forgiving, we are allowing ourselves a better life, better mental and physical health, and a better understanding of relationships and ourselves.